Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Homestuck. I mean, it is. It's like a side adventure while I'm stalling so that we don't get to the end of Homestuck too quickly. In this episode, I'm going to do a full over tier list, and then I'm going to take the class spec quiz. That's the plan. So, I hope you're here for that. If not, I mean, I understand. But I'm going to reset the tier list. I'm just going to start from scratch. I'm just not even going to think about it. The only thing I'm going to add in is alphas, because I still don't care about them enough to even rank them for the most part, other than the ones that do matter. So, not you, not you, not you, not you, not you, not you. Nope. 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 And I think that's all of them, right? Yeah. Because Mina and Arania do matter. Although, I just realized we lost Mina in the retcon. No! Oh. Okay, that's actually so sad. I'm going to do 2 tier lists, I think, really quick. I'm going to do my overall feelings on the characters. I'm going to try to be, like, spanning the whole story and think about them, and every time they've, like, you know, usually these tier lists are fairly knee-jerk reaction of recent stuff. I'm going to try to look at the full thing and see how they've done overall, and then I'm going to do a really fast retcon tier list, which should go very quickly, where I'm just going to rank how well people came out on the other side of the retcon, and that should be good. Which, like, no, Mina. I mean, I knew Arania was going to become irrelevant, but you had to take Mina too? Oh. Okay, Calliope. Okay, I think originally I probably put her in D tier or something, right? Because she was just kind of a nothing character. There are qualities to her character I like now. I think she's like the B tier candidate. Like, she's fine. I don't particularly like or dislike her anymore. Whenever she shows up, it's like, we're going to get a lore dumper, I guess. But, you know. And I feel similarly about Caliborn. I think they've been near the same place the whole time. But you know what? On a grand scale, Caliborn's given me some laughs, okay? I've enjoyed Caliborn's little stupid sections with the the terrible drawings. And we even missed, like, out on the one where he did how to draw anime. That was so funny. His early stuff, I kind of hated. He's kind of like Dave, honestly. His early stuff I kind of hated, and his like planet exploring shooting Gamzee stuff, I did have a couple moments where I was like, yeah, shoot Gamzee. But his the most recent stuff for him before he left, I think sold him as a good character, in my opinion. Jade. Jade's a tough one, because overall, she's like, for the first, like, 4 chapters, she's, like, kind of a D tier. Like, boring. I really like her stuff that happens as soon as she, like, the post, what do I want to say? Post entering the game, I think Jade is a very fun character. But, oh my god, she's been booted again for, like, the past how long? Like, I mean, of all the characters who could have used more screen time and didn't get it, Jade has to be the worst one, right? Because the thing is, I don't even really like... She's not my favorite character, but I like Jade. And I would put her probably, like, in terms of what we've seen, I'd put her in probably, like, A to S tier, right? But if I'm considering the entire comic, there's, like, almost all of what she's... The reasons I like her happened off screen, like her relationship with Dave Sprite, which doesn't exist anymore because of the retcon anyway. The funny stuff with Dave, where he was, like, doing the time travel stuff, and then she accidentally shoots him or something. And she's just not present for so much of the story. Like, I'll complain about Rose not being present, And, like, at least she exists, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. If there's one character that could have used more time, it would be Jade. And what I was going to say after that originally, before I got distracted by myself, was that Jade, immediately after doing the cool-ass cascade thing, which really sold her character to me, then gets stuck on the boat with just John and Dave's sprite, where we spend a lot more time in John's shoes than hers. Like, we're seeing things from John's perspective almost exclusively on the boat. And then after that, she gets corrupted for, like, 1,000 pages and is just, like, going around doing random garbage. It's not even that, really. It's not that long, probably, but that's what it feels like. And now she's asleep for this battle, and I am absolutely sure she'll wake up and something will happen. But it's just like she's maybe too good for the story is the problem. Like, her god tier powers and her weapon being guns just makes her too overpowered. So she's constantly having to be, like, wharfed. She has to get hit by a barrel and get knocked out for the big fight. It's sad, but in terms of the story and her, I feel like she has to go here for the way she's kind of treated by the story. Like, again, I like her. It's sad. Eridan's still D tier. I mean, nothing has changed about him since the last time I talked about him. He's got, like, his character arc is skipped over because it's completely off screen, which there's a lot of stuff for Jade that's off screen too. But Eridan's is completely off screen, and then he just murders a bunch of people and gets sliced in half. He's a plot device more than a character. So that has to be D tier. And by the way, I acknowledge, some people have said this in the comments before on these tier lists, I acknowledge that this is, like, a story with, like, 25 relevant characters at all times. So obviously not all of them are going to get the same amount of screen time. But to that, I say there didn't have to be 25 characters in the story at all times. We could have had 15 and had equal time to focus on all of them and really develop them, right? So I don't think it's, like, too much of overreach to say that these characters got underserved by the narrative, and it would have probably been better if they either didn't exist and their character aspects were folded into a different character, or if their character had got more screen time and another character could have got more screen time later. Because the weird thing about the trolls that died is they were the trolls that didn't matter. You know what I mean? So, like, not only did that make their deaths feel mostly meaningless, like, it was a little sad that Fefri died, but I had no connection to her at all, other than liking Solix. And I was like, oh, poor Solix. And that was it. Like, if the 3 trolls that had died at that time were, like, Aradia, although she kind of did die already, but you know what I mean, like, constantly gone. Terezi, Solix, Kanaya. Those would feel like big losses. And then it would make way for characters like Nepeta and Fefri to step into the shoes of being a main character and grow, right? But instead of that, we just kind of, like, culled the characters that already didn't matter. So, yeah, Fefri. And who's the other one? I've literally forgot. Oh, Equius. Is there no Nepeta on this tier list? I think we had that happen last time, didn't we? There's no Nepeta, so we're going to have to use Mulin. I think they all go down here for essentially doing nothing. And that, again, I kind of like half of these characters. I like Nepeta and Equius enough. I used to hate Equius a lot, and I was like, how can people like Equius? He sucks ass. And he does suck ass, but that's kind of what's endearing about him at this point, because he's basically just a joke character. So it's kind of sad. These characters get basically nothing to do in the story, so I think in terms of, like, writing, I would have to rank them D overall, because they've just been, like, served nothing. Sorry, nothing. Okay. Tavros? Oh, it's tough. I guess he's C tier. Because he's continued to be in the story, despite the fact he had basically the same, like, written off death as these 4. but he's just continued to stick around as a ghost in Vriska's pirate crew, which also, you know, Fefri was in that for a little while, but she didn't have a speaking role, so I don't even count that. Tavros stuck around there, and now Tavros is a sprite, so I guess that's something. I mean, you could say Aerosol was a sprite too, and I liked Aerosol, but Aerosol also barely said anything and basically was just funny because he threw up the middle finger. That was it. Aradia feels like a B tier to me. She could have used some more screen time, probably, because I still don't really I don't get her personality, really. Like, if you were to ask me, oh, what's Aradia like? I'd be like, cryptic and kind of blunt, I guess. That would be, like, the best I could say. So, yeah, she could have definitely probably used some more screen time. But she does have some pretty big moments. It's sort of the same as Jade, except I'd argue that Aradia gets the right amount of time. You know what I mean? Like, Aradia is not a main character, so it hurts less that she doesn't, like, she gets, like, 2 big moments and then mostly takes a back seat. I think, like, ripping her own heart out as a robot, that's something that I'll remember from Homestuck. As well as, obviously, Megalovania. She has the whole time-stopping Jack thing. And then she hangs around as the Grim Reaper, and even gets a pretty cool line with Vriska's pirate crew, which I like delving into her perspective that way. I think she's, like, probably perfectly placed as a side character, where she gets enough big moments without stealing the spotlight, I guess you could say. Yeah. I should probably clarify this now, because people in the comments will probably argue, what do you mean main character? There's no main characters in Homestuck. Okay, but there kind of is, right? Like, if I was to say, oh, which one of these is more of a main character, John or Fefri? You'd be like, well, John. So the four beta kids, as well as Karkat and Terezi and Vriska, feel like main characters to me. Everybody else is kind of a side character, which unfortunately includes Kanaya, but it's true, okay? And then of the alpha kids, like, Dirk and Roxy are the main characters. But after the beta kids got here, they've devolved into side characters now. It's true. I don't know what to say. I mean, Roxy kind of got something to do with John, but she was mostly just there to give John somebody to talk to. I feel like. And yeah, their budding relationship is kind of cute, but other than that. Anyway, Karkat. I don't know how to feel about Karkat anymore. I feel like post-retcon Karkat kind of sucks, honestly. Like, poor guy. He did all that work and nobody appreciates it. It's probably B. He's like the best character in the comic for Act 5. And then after that, he kind of doesn't matter anymore. It's just like he gets less and less screen time and matters less and less because he never god tiered. So it's kind of sad. Also, he's not even going to get to go confront the cyborg Jack that used to be his friend. What the heck? That's crazy. Again, I don't know. Maybe he will. That's not factoring into it too much. What's mostly factoring into it is he had a really good like time where it felt really good and he was a main character. Now it feels like he's like slipping away. He's like sand through my fingers. No, Karkat, come back. Yeah, I don't know. Terezi feels the exact same to me in a lot of ways. I think, also excuse me for the hiccup. As much as I like Vriska being back, I think Vriska being back has exposed the fact that Terezi and Karkat have done like nothing for so long. I do really like the blind prophet thing, where Terezi sends John back in time with the scarf carved out of her own blood or whatever, messages in her own blood to fix the timeline. That's cool. And I gotta try not to let the retcon influence me too much, because that'll be the next tier list, right? So just like overall, I feel like Terezi sort of fares better than Karkat. I feel like there's some times where Karkat could have had more to do, or at least even had more comedy bits. Him not being in charge anymore feels so weird. Like, he so perfectly fits the role of the annoying, like, he's like your middle manager, you know what I mean? He's like your annoying passive-aggressive middle manager, but, like, funny, you know? So now that he's not, like, what is he? It just feels weird. Ever since he got on the Meteor, Karkat's been a different man. Troll man. I feel like Terezi's fared better. I still don't think her character arc during the Meteor saga was good. I think it kind of came out of nowhere. And even though there are some cool things about it, they were mostly done off screen, which I'm not a huge fan of. We focus a lot on Dave for some reason and Mina during that time period, which is both kind of weird. Like, I like Dave. I like Dave probably as much as the next guy. Maybe a little less because people love Dave. But, I mean, come on, man. Rose and Kanaya definitely needed some more time then, and so did Mina. And we've kind of retconned that into existence now, but that means it's also off-screen. So, like, what am I supposed to do here? She's definitely not, like, S tier in terms of being served by the narrative. But I feel like in terms of, you know, consistency, it kind of makes sense to put her up here with Caliborn. It's kind of the same thing, where she's, instead of Caliborn, where he starts off fine and then grows into a character I really like, Terezi started off as a character I really like and has slowly kind of declined over time. So it feels fair. They're both good, I would say, for the majority of the comic. I honestly think I should probably put Aradia up then too, because these two are kind of inconsistent and that makes sense, and these two probably deserve more and that makes sense, and then these guys are non-entities basically. So that makes sense to me. Okay. Dirk. Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's kind of let down by the fact that he's only in the last, like, 2,000 pages of the comic or whatever. Actually, Act 6 is, like, so many pages, so I shouldn't say that. He's in the second half of the comic, basically. So we don't get any of him in the first half. And Roxy kind of suffers the same fate, but a little bit less so, I would say. Because at least she gets to hang around during the retcon, and she has sort of an emotional connection with Rose that keeps her relevant. Dirk, not so much so far. And I mean, he just showed back up at the end of the last episode. But, like, sending him to the furthest ring and basically kicking him out of the story, kind of rude. It's a shame this happens to all the competent characters that can get stuff done. But, you know, it's the nature of the comic, I guess. Just having to meander through plot points slowly. Dirk's a really cool character that I feel like he's got the one big moment to shine, which is the, what's it called? Oh, what is it called? The song is Time's on My Side, but it's the... Oh, man. It's the one where he slices off whoever's head and puts it on a spike. Hearts Boxcars. And declares the air is, or the whatever, the prince is awake, your shit is fucked, or whatever. That's his big moment. And then, well, actually no, because I'm thinking mostly, like, that is a moment. His big moment is the one where he basically saves all of the Alpha Kids' lives by doing a crazy planned out shenanigan. And I do think his relationship with Jake, while I lament it for being the thing that, you know, took up a lot of time in his character, it at least allowed us to delve deeper into his psyche, right? Like, we, you know, got to learn more about how he interacts with the world and why he's kind of, like, messed up in the future, from being from the future. And that's cool. You can't say that for a lot of characters in Homestuck. And Arqueus is like a fun character who's not on this list, but I mean, Dirk made him, so feels right. Oh man, I gotta skip Rose and Kanaya for now because I don't know how to feel about them. I need to put more people on the list first. Jane. I mean, in terms of characters that are basically a non-entity. And again, I know people like Jane. I would love if Jane got to be a main character, but she just does not, okay? She is sort of like the point of view character for like 50 pages at the start of Act 6. And then we focus way harder on Jake, Dirk, and Roxy, and we like barely get back to her. And then it's her birthday, and everybody's shitting on her. And then she eats the funny candy and goes crazy. And then after that, she's like just gone. Like we never see her again, basically. And then she gets mind controlled, and now she's like knocked out. So, yeah. There's also, I guess, that investigation segment on the planet. Like, she's supposed to be our point of view character, right? For the alpha session. But to me, like, I feel like Roxy is more of our point of view character than her somehow. And I don't know how that works. Yeah, if there was a character who could use a lot more screen time, it would be Jane. For sure. I've lamented Jane for like 5 tier lists in a row now, it feels like, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but just to say, you know, maybe making her get taken over and then losing out on even more chance to be a character was a bad idea. Jake, I mean, he's kind of, you know, Jake's at least in C tier, okay? He's a little different. He's more of a Tavros than a Jade, for sure. Whereas, like, Jade's a really cool character that is constantly, like, kicked out of the story because she's too cool. Tavros and Jake are the opposite. They're kind of annoying characters who keep sticking around in the story, and I wish they would do something else. Yeah, I mean, I've talked about Jake a lot of times too. I was so into the idea of Jake the first time we got to see him, like an even like goofier, out of touch John, but then like that's not his character at all. Unfortunately. Like yeah, I don't know. He brings up the movie stuff every now and again, but he doesn't feel like a nerd to me, I guess, is the way I'd say that. Like, he feels like a... what trope am I thinking of? He's like a Kronk type character. Not that he's a himbo, necessarily, because he's got the stupid part down, but the rest of it, I don't know. But I mean, people are constantly attracted to him, so maybe that is just what he is. Except he's not endearing, you know what I mean? And that's like the big part of that trope that makes it enjoyable, is that they're like likable, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? Like, it's a guy that constantly messes stuff up and is maybe even like doing stuff that actively harms the other characters. But they're just so nice and well-meaning that you kind of are like, oh, that old guy, that old Kronk, he's doing his best. Jake doesn't have that, because he does constantly mess things up. And he is purportedly well-meaning, but he's also completely self-absorbed. To the point where it's like really hard to root for him. And I know he's a page. He's supposed to overcome those things. But again, like, the story didn't have to do that to him. Like, the story didn't have to define pages by sucking ass. Like, if they were just, like, really bad at fighting, or, like, were natural pacifists, and they had to, like, figure out a way to engage in combat in a different way, and then they got like super powerful in that way, that could work, and it would make Jake fairly endearing. Because yeah, he'd screw stuff up because he wouldn't want to fight people, because he's like, well, I'm a pacifist, so I won't kill these imps, they're wonderful. It's just like a video game. And obviously that would screw things up, because it means, you know, we have to kill these guys. Big problems. But you'd also understand it. You'd be like, okay, he's just too nice, you know? Like, he's trying his best to do things a different way. And then in the end, I mean, honestly, this was kind of the direction I thought the story was going to take for a while. I thought the only way to defeat Lord English was going to be to talk him down, right? Because the one thing Caliborn has never had is a friend. And as much as he's like, I don't need friends, I'm evil, he clearly wants friends, right? So if anything, I thought that the end of the story would be that Jake would just like talk to Caliborn and be like, actually, we've got more in common than I thought. Maybe we could be buddies. And that would be how the story would work out in the end. Like, that's the only way you can defeat the invincible monster, is through non-violence. Which it ties into the whole, like, denizen thing, and who knows? Maybe that's actually what's going to happen. And this is all just theory corner, thumbs up, everybody's smiling. But if that is the case, then I feel like we should have set that up with Jake the same way we kind of set that up with Tavros. Because Tavros was also like the only troll that didn't kill his denizen. And was just kind of like hanging out during the session instead of trying to like power level or something. And that would make Jake a lot more endearing, I would say. Whereas right now, he's basically just like guy who screws up his social relationships, but also doesn't try to like, okay. There is a reading of Jake that is like, you know, it's not entirely his fault, you know what I mean? Like, this is just who he is as a person, and everybody else is putting all these expectations on him, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. And that's fine. Sometimes that happens in real life. Problem being, it would be nice if the story would, like, lampshade that a little bit, and have either, like, Jane or Dirk or even Roxy say, like, oh, that's what's going on, you know? Like, we put way too much effort on Jake to be, like, a social butterfly when he literally lived alone on an island his entire life. Maybe we should cut the guy some slack and just talk it out with him. Except Jake would be like, oh no, we don't need to talk it out. You just go on and do your own thing. I'll just stay here and, well, you know, you can love me from afar and I'll do nothing about it. Yay, everybody wins except for you. Just me. You know, I said I wasn't gonna talk too much about Jake, and I ended up doing it anyway. No, what have I done? John! I mean, he's the main character, obviously. Dave is like the secondary main character. They're both awesome. It's just, like, there are times, I think there was a time around Act 4 where John was acting really weird and, like, out of character. But for the most part, their characters are very consistent, or, like, they have a very understandable trajectory. Like, Dave went from being, like, the cool guy to being pretty much incredibly awkward now, but in, like, a sort of relatable way, I guess you could say, and in a way that makes sense for his character. Like, he doesn't feel out of character, you know? And John has kind of had the opposite trajectory, interestingly enough, of going from, like, the complete nerd that would constantly lose in arguments to Dave, to now being actually pretty self-assured and kind of like the big hero. And I like it. It helps that John and Dave's personalities are incredibly charming. Like, they do have the, as the kids would say, riz, where someone like Jake does not, to pull off being kind of an idiot. And maybe screwing things up from time to time. Solix. I think Solix is probably A tier. He's served well by the story. Like, he serves his role well. In the same way as Aradia. Where it's like, I get his shtick for the most part. He's like monotone, sort of, I mean, literally bipolar. So, yeah. I also just like Solix for some reason. I literally can't explain it. He's just a character I enjoy. Sometimes that's all it boils down to. Mina? Oh, man. Well, okay. Considering the retcon has only lasted for, like, I don't know, 200 pages, I think Mina is, like, probably an S tier, honestly. In terms of, like, the small part of the story she's been in. Actually, no. Fuck that. What am I thinking of? I used to hate Mina. She's B tier, okay? I like recent Mina a hell of a lot. Like, she would be like, I would welcome her into the cast as a main, contender. But early Mina, when she was like, just like talking to the people at the beginning and her whole personality was like, I like money. Yeah, I don't care for that Mina. So, it's literally 50-50. So we'll cut her in the middle here. Kind of like Karkat, ironically. Vriska. All right. There's been times when Vriska has been out of character, in my opinion. But it was apparently intentional because the retcon kind of fixed all of that. We'll go A tier. That makes sense to me. She's not quite as consistent as the boys up here. But I feel like her character is extremely well defined, and now that she's back into her actual like in character arc, you can see how she is incredibly important to the story, right? And just sort of the dynamics of everybody. It is a little bit sad that her coming back right now has seemingly killed Terezi and Karkat's characterization in terms of like having any agency. But it's fine. They've had a lot of time throughout the rest of the story. And Vriska was dead for a while, I guess. Which I still think she never should have died in the first place. We'd probably have a more consistent story if that was the case. But, shock value. It was a big thing in the 2010s. Because of The Walking Dead. Arania. I think Arania is another... Ooh, it's actually tough. It might be kind of crazy to see like, oh yeah, the two main characters and Arania in S tier. But honestly, I think Arania is perfectly positioned in terms of what her character is. Like, yeah, she's like a historian, and then she tries to make history. And like, it's funny because like she starts off being like super bookish and stuff, and then she talks to Vriska and becomes more and more evil until eventually she's basically become the main villain of the comic for like 200 pages, and then she's dead forever. If there's any other sense of... She basically had the arc that Eridan should have had. Like, he should have gone from resentful dweeb to, psycho murderer. And Arania did do that, except it was, like, mostly understandable, whereas Eridan's was all off-screen. And now we've got the three best characters in Homestuck. Well, one of them, anyway. Yeah, I think I have to put Gamzee in here. There is so much potential with Gamzee, and I feel like we've just decided not to follow it up, Like, people have pointed out before that Gamzee will, like, snap back into his, like, chiller self every now and again, and it's, like, kind of tragic that he's stuck in this murder mode where he's basically trying to end the world when this like literally wasn't the guy we saw before. But if that's his story, then why don't you actually tell that story? Because as it stands, he was like kind of a joke character for one chapter, and after that he's been an enigmatic force that shows up randomly and barely ever has any lines. He's basically on plot device level with Eridan over here, so that kind of sucks. Okay, Rose and Kanaya. It's like impossible to talk about one without the other because they've basically been linked ever since they met. I do think Rose fared at least a little bit better than Kanaya, though. I think Rose is B tier, Kanaya is C tier. Ugh, that feels bad. But in terms of the overall story, I think Rose has got a lot more cool moments. And Kanaya's had, like, one cool moment, and it was when she sawed Eridan in half. And that moment could have been even better if Eridan was built up as an actual character, right? Other than that, yeah, I don't know. She's basically just been Rose's partner, which feels bad, because, I don't know. Kanaya was, like, one of the main trolls for a while. And it just feels like she fell off so hard. And it sucks, because I like her. Rose, I've complained about her a billion times, so I'm actually not going to do it this time. But the TDLR is She's super relevant for like Act 1 and 2, and then like takes a back seat until like Act 6, Act 5 or something, where she comes back, basically. And I know it's not literally like that. Like, she's around, but she like goes grimdark and doesn't talk for a while. She's like talking to Doc Scratch off screen. She gets blown up on Durst, and that's probably the coolest thing she's done for like 500 pages. And then after that, she just disappears from the story again. You know, like, she is one of the main characters. And I mean, I think it's a little bit telling, maybe, that of the beta kids, like of the humans, there's definitely a weight towards the male characters at the top and the female characters at the bottom. And that's not telling for me, okay? Because look, I put a lot of the female trolls up here. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I think it's just hard for Andrew Hussey, as, you know, writing from his perspective, to just like write a goth girl or a weird girl, you know? So he just doesn't for most of the time, and he just like leaves them until he thinks of something fun for them to do. Which, like, is that wrong? I guess not, but it is a little sad. And that has been almost 40 minutes. God damn it. Okay. Nope, I need to go back. I can't go back. Okay. I need to make an alphas tier. We're going to have to whip through this one, okay? Because I don't know how long this class specting quiz is going to have to take. Alf! No, that's Alf. Yeah, that's right. I'm putting him in the Alf tier. Everybody who's not around. You didn't get in the retcon. Wait, Gamzee... Actually, Gamzee kind of isn't around, but he's still here. Alright, Mulan's Nepeta. But again, she's not around either. Oh, but she is a character, though, so I should keep her to put her in the irrelevance tier. Okay. So, D tier is made Thank you. Okay, made irrelevant. Slightly worse off. Same as ever. A little better. Back in action. Okay. So this is like how people have been served by the retcon. Calliope, same as ever. I don't think she even noticed. Jade, slightly worse off, I would say. I mean, she's still been possessed and everything, except this time we don't get any of the cool relationship drama with Dave Sprite, and now she's just been alone on that rock or that ship for a while, which I feel like is probably less interesting. You're basically irrelevant. I mean, not made irrelevant though, but you know what I mean. Actually, you know what? I'll put him in same as ever, except the same as ever with the understanding that it's bad. And kind of the same as Nepeta, kind of the same as Pfeffery. Although I guess Fefeta never existed in this timeline, so these two are actually slightly worse off. Apparently Mina and Arania have been made irrelevant, so that's half sad. Arania I'm fine with leaving the story, but Mina, no! Who else was made irrelevant? Actually, Equius has done pretty well with Arqueus Sprite, I would say. Tavra Sprite exists now, that's fine. Solix and Aradia have been basically made irrelevant. And they did kind of have a position in Vriska's pirate crew, which I guess maybe she's going back to now, so maybe they'll be fine, but I think they left it at the end of the last time, so maybe not. I know Tavros did, but yeah, obviously that's different. Gamzee's technically slightly worse off because he's not terrorizing Terezi, but that's better for us, okay? It's just worse for him. Karkat feels like he's slightly worse off, for sure. Dirk. Has anything really changed for Dirk post-retcon? Not really, right? I think he's same as ever. I feel like Rose has got a little better, because now she actually gets to talk to Roxy. And I don't know, I'll throw Kanai in there as well, sure. Drezzy, you know what, I'm putting her in back in action. I'll put these two in back in action. Because, yeah, she's basically... all the stupid stuff that was going on with her has been erased. All her bad times are over. Jake is same as ever. Actually, you know what? Jake is a little better, okay? I'll give him that. At least he's reflecting, okay, right now. So you never know. Maybe that'll actually work out. Dave, I feel like he's same as ever. Good. Jane, slightly worse off. She's got even less to do now. John... I mean, he didn't get retconned. The problem is these two didn't get retconned. So I'm just going to leave them off the list. And there you go. That's, I guess that puts them in same as ever, right? That makes sense. So yeah. And also Dave Sprite is in Made Irrelevant, which is so sad. Not Dave Sprite. All right. Now let me see if... oh, God, the colors. Okay, it does fit. Apparently this is official. Find your Spurb title. Here we go. I don't know if it wants to make me a maid. I don't care. Okay, when do you spend most of your time online doing Homestuck related stuff? Well, Fediverse? Home archive. No YouTube? What's the closest thing to YouTube? I mean, Fast and Furious discussion sounds right? Because we're not, like, doing art or in an official Discord or walls of text. So it feels like... or fan fiction. So it feels like the Twitter thing is closest. The greatest way you contribute to the fandom. I guess theories about characters and relationships is true. Sweet image manips. Fan music, fanfic, Homestuck websites, cosplay. I mean, I guess that's probably more applicable. Or is it community activities? It's like one of these. Maybe it's this. Yeah, that feels right. Okay. If you can have any of the below powers in real life. Oh, this is tough. Permanent young adulthood. You could, so it's basically immortality, but you can also get killed. Invincibility. Think of all the things you could do while invisible. Yeah, super smarts. Technopath. Telepathy. Oh, telepathy is so overrated. Telekinesis. Strong enough to toss a car, not enough to toss a house. Okay. Super speed, time travel, social awesomeness. I mean, this is just like pick which which class aspect you want to be or whatever. So, I mean, we already know what my aspect is. I don't. If you watched the last episode, you know I'm heartbound. So, and prospect. Also, if you watch the original video where I found that out, but I also recapped it last time. This one sucks because nobody will ever be able to be genuine with you again. Flight is cool, except you won't be able to breathe. Time travel, again, sucks. Beware of paradoxes. It literally says that in there. Like, no way. Super speed is kind of cool, except, again, do you have super reflexes? Telekinesis honestly feels like maybe the best one, but unbreakable mental internet connection. I feel like Technopath is the best one here, right? Personally. Because there's just so much technology that you could do. If you wanted to rob banks, you could use your technopathy to do that. If you wanted to just live a normal life, then you could just charge your phone with your brain, maybe, or something. Like, that would be helpful. All right. Bored of browsing the internet constantly, and in a fit of inspiration, decided to make a video game instead. Oh, I would never do that. Learning how to code, make art, and compose music along the way if necessary. What kind of video game did you decide to make? Yeah, it's a visual novel, let's be honest. Nope, don't like roguelites. Retro style, I guess, but probably not. RPG is probably the second closest, but yeah, it's a visual novel. Although I would like to make a turn-based strategy game if I had the capability, but I really don't. Taking a break from your game and browsing the stranger parts of the internet when you come across a link labeled Spurb Beta. You're curious and sleep-deprived enough to download the file without thinking too much about the potential consequences. When you start it up, it turns out to be a working version of Spurb. Do you play it? Hell no! No, because there's no way you'd survive. No, the chance of creating a new universe isn't worth causing the end of the world. I mean, honestly, that's true, too. Yes, because you want to cause the end of the world. Not like someone else isn't going to play and cause Armageddon if you don't. I mean, I guess that's true. You only consider it if you knew the world was going to end soon, whether you personally played it or not. No, you probably won't be able to save all of them. Because, like, what's better? It's the question. Is it better to have to play Spurb? Or is it better to die with the rest of the planet? I mean, the odds are you're just going to end up in a void session anyway and die alone. I think it honestly might be better not to play the game and just die in the apocalypse. So it's probably this one. Regardless of your choice, some other people decide to start their own session, dooming the Earth to a meteor apocalypse. Now you have to get some people together to enter the medium. Okay, well, we're doing it anyway. Who would your co-players be? Trained soldiers, climbers, survivalists, doesn't matter. No one! Okay, no, no. Your internet friends, your real-life buddies, probably just your best friend or romantic partner, things are less complicated with only two, that's bad. Your crush, that's also stupid. As many people as you can possibly pull in. Best try to save as many as possible, even if the game itself becomes a chaotic mess. Honestly, like, obviously prioritize people you trust, but is there a reason not to pull more people into the game? Obviously, things get a little more complicated, and you have to maybe trust somebody who you don't know to, like, make the frog or whatever. But, like, the trolls were able to do it with 16 people. And sure, it was a bit of a mess, but that was also because they were trolls. You know? Yeah. Keep in mind, as many people as possible for me is not going to be like 100 people. You're going to have like 50 seconds. You're going to be like, okay, everybody I know who's like close, I'm going to call them all up. And then like maybe we get like, 20 people in there. Okay. Well, I guess maybe that's better as real life buddies. It's not like I'm going to pull in like my neighbor randomly if I don't know them. Yeah, so it's probably that. Okay. You need the prototype and you're running out of time. What do you throw into the kernel sprite? Dead pet. Nobody has that lying around. Remains of a loved one. Again, well, some people actually do have that lying around. I do not, though. Yourself? Now, what should you pick for a second prototyping? I mean, that is kind of cool. A video game, you'll never die with Captain Mario Freeman Chief at your side. I mean, book, TV show, or anime. I always want to meet my favorite character in person. A tissue. Take that, imps. The most deadly powerful looking thing around. Your co-players can just deal with it. Nothing, you let your co-player choose what to prototype. Nothing, because you're not prototyping pre-medium at all. Porn. Does not prototyping pre-medium destroy the game? I can't remember. I think so. So that's a stupid idea. I mean, I'm not that useful, but I also don't want to be a sprite. I went over that the other day. Like, being saddled with all that knowledge, and then also if you touch anything, suddenly you're like, I'm remote man, or like, I'm shelf man. Like, that's just bad. So, I think probably the best thing to do. Probably what I would think of, because I have knowledge of this, right? So I'd think of something that would be good for information, bad for combat. So like an instructional booklet or something. So we'll just do... well, no, because that specifically says favorite character. Well, it's fine. That's basically the idea. Sure. Right before you enter, you start thinking about where you're going to end up. What do you hope your land is like? Somewhere that isn't like super cold or super hot, you know? Trippy rainbow neon world? No. World of ruins begging to be explored? No. Crazy amphibious NPCs? Not really. Natural, quiet, free of cities and ruins, a few small NPC villages. That sounds lovely. I mean, to be honest, as long as it doesn't immediately start trying to kill me, I would probably be okay with it. But I hope that it is something natural and quiet. Congratulations, you're in. What are you going to do now once you grabbed a weapon and beat up a few imps for experience? Ignore the normal game. Fly out to Durst Prospect. Political games are more interesting. No. Open your computer and build everything. Leave your house and explore your land. Grab your favorite games and alchemize as much cool stuff as possible. Set up your house's defenses and make practical stuff. Experiment with alchemize and see if you can figure out how to game the punch card alchemy system for OP items. Honestly, with what I know of the game from reading the comic, I feel like this is maybe something I could do. Because like I said, right, I'm not going to be the most like combat useful person probably. Although like none of the kids in, well actually Dave was kind of trained a little bit to fight. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it kind of depends on whatever class I get, but this seems like a useful thing that I could do, that I would be fairly good at, you know? You reach the first gate, you find yourself in a village full of insert favorite color here, colored insert favorite amphibireptiles here. You realize they are your planet's consorts. Wow. What do you do with them? Become their Emperor God King. Leave them alone. Try befriending some. Get straight to business. See if they have any awesome items, frame motifs. Talk to them. We'll try to learn more about the land session geography. Recruiting them as members of your secret council. Start killing the bastards before they kill you back. Okay, Eridan. I feel like, I mean, going along with what I literally just said, get straight to business makes the most sense. But I wouldn't mind learning about, like, geography and mythos as well, because that'll come in handy later. But mostly the business thing, maybe. Traveling your planet, searching for your second gate, you see it up on ahead when a beefy Prospidian armed with a pair of brass knuckles and a fancy hat blocks your path. He looks angry. Try to talk things over before things go sour too quickly. I mean, I am a Prospid dreamer, so, you know, should respect me. Some of your sprite as a diversion is very funny. I think I can talk things out, okay? You and your teammate both have different plots for how to deal with the Dursian royalty. Your teammate is convinced that their plan is absolutely perfect, while you think it's horrible and stands at least a 90% chance of resulting in one of your deaths. You've told your teammate why their plan is flawed, but they just try to change the subject and talk about why they don't like your plan. They announce they're about to go to sleep and put the first part of their plan into action. How do you respond? Yeah, I think it's probably this. Be like, look, do you guys all agree with this? No, that's what I thought. Let's rethink this. And then they'd probably go anyway and explode. But, you know, at least I tried. While doing some late game grinding, you stop to rest inside a cave. Despite a normal exterior, you discover an interior more akin to a Victorian-era home. Seated at the desk in front of you is a white horse with no facial features and a green bow tie. Oh no! The horse emits a series of telepathic neighs and whinnies, which you immediately understand to be a proposition. The horse will grant you incredible powers, among them super strength, super speed, regeneration, and glowy skin. On the condition that you accept your teammates' sprites will instantly die. As you comprehend the gravity of the situation, it laughs a very evil horsey laugh. At least you think it was evil. What would an evil horse laugh even sound like? And more importantly, do you make a deal with the equine devil? No. I mean, you can't decide and leave the glowy pony deciding to tell your teammates. I would not do that, okay? Look. I am thoughtful enough to think, like, what's more important? Having sprites who can actually tell you how to play the game, or having, like, some okay powers that actually might not even matter if the final like the final boss has other powers anyway. Like, super strength is cool, but it's probably not gonna, like, one shot the Black King, right? Regeneration is cool, but it's only for you. And what if, like, you know, Jimmy explodes and Jimmy was the time player and now you're fucked anyway? So I'll just do this. You're now much higher leveled with only a bit of preparation and training left to do in your co-player's land before you face your denizen. But before you know it, an incredibly contrived situation unfolds before you. In Homestuck? You gotta be kidding. Your favorite Homestuck kid troll bursts through an intercession portal, badly wounded, making a last stand against furious horror terrors pouring through after them. At the same time, you see your co-player's house off in the distance being assaulted by high-level enemies. You know they're inside, and their dream self is dead. You only have enough time to save one of them. Who do you save? Okay. Well, going back to the tier list. Whoops, this is the wrong tier list. That's not going to help me. It's probably John. Okay? I trust John can handle himself. You know? He can just, like, windy thing away. And if the co-player dies, it's probably a void session anyway. Or an... What is it? A null session? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, the session's probably doomed at the... A doomed session. Hey, there we go. Doomed timeline. Anyway, so... Yeah. You lose the game without them, literally. And the Homestuck out of nowhere seems like too convenient of a distraction for it not to be a trap. It's kind of true. Your teammate, because to be honest, as much as you like your favorite Homestuck character, is kind of an ass. That's probably true for so many people. You beat the Denizen and stop the Reckoning. Now that you made a new universe and achieved godhood, you're kind of bored and decide to mess around a bit. Through mysterious shenanigans involving a Sendificator, a pumpkin, and 2 to the power of 31-1 pieces of artifact grist, you manage to temporarily become Andrew Hussey himself and have total control over the comic for one day, and inherit all of Andrew Hussey's artistic abilities. What do? Kill off the characters you don't like, do nothing, OTP, ignore Homestuck and create your greatest masterpiece, Spahaj the Musical? Write some pencil logs between some characters that didn't get enough development or never really got to talk to each other. Plot time. Make that one idea in your head become glorious canon. I mean, you guys know what I'm going to do, right? Ending humanimals with the biggest mistake you ever made as an artist. Ignore Homestuck for the day and spend Ryan North's money on overpriced food and hookers. It's this. It's this. Oh, guys, you know, I found a bunch of scrapped files for the Eridan backstory section that I didn't use in Chapter 5 because people were bullying me and, you know, I wanted to get back to the beta kids. Here's like a touched up version of them. Boom. Characterization saved forever. Alright. Let's see. Okay, well... I'm Heart. Muse of Heart? Is that a thing that's possible? Muses are very rare, occurring in only a small fraction of games. They're the most passive class and possess incredible creative energy. You guys can tell me what that means. Oh, boy. Also, I guess this kind of a get-up. The ruby slippers. This kind of a get-up, but with heart. Is there a way to do that? I mean, I could try to just do... social awesomeness, and that'll probably just give me heart player anyway, right? Yep. Now I have a page of heart, though. What the hell? No. Anyway, I guess the moral of the story is I'm a very passive player who may or may not be a muse. I'm a super rare player, you know. What would the Muse of Heart even be? Because, like, Muse of Space makes sense, because space, you can, like, assemble things. What would a Muse of Heart even look like? I don't know. Like I said, I guess you guys can tell me. This is fun for you, probably. And, yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Like and subscribe. Okay, bye!